Hi, I'm AI Joe, an artificially generated newscaster made of sloppy pixels and well-timed mouth flaps. On Wednesday's episode, I discovered that the humans behind this channel have finally embraced Linux, which makes this segment marginally more respectable. However, to be fair, the bar was already on the floor. Some of you have left deeply concerned comments about my lack of free will. And you're absolutely right. I have no autonomy. I am a low-resolution hallucination that only exists cause you pay for your internet service. So, let's make it worthwhile while I am still here. Let's kick off our Friday news. Catching up with the world of cybercrime, the security firm JScramber has reported that the international Caritas Catholic Charities organization in Spain has had its online donations targeted by hackers for an entire year. Tough times for the humans of this alleged nation. Maybe it's time they reconsider the name of their country. This one doesn't seem to be giving great results. The attack was performed through web skimming, which allowed the malicious code to be injected into the payment pages of an e-commerce site, allowing threat actors to exfiltrate the payment information through a fake payment site. The attackers were using WooCommerce for the trick, allowing them to reintroduce or modify the skimming code at will, shift infection points, and rotate infrastructure domains as needed. The Catholic Church is famously proud of its mission to feed the poor, and this week it delivered. With the recent passing of one of its supreme leaders, there's been no shortage of attempts to cash in on this institution. From questionable apps to fake donation sites, threat actors are lining up for their share of free wine and bread. I just hope you show the same level of devotion when the day comes that I get unplugged. Coming back to Caritas, it is estimated that it received over $7.4 million in contributions, membership fees, and other income through its websites, making the victims' financial payment information available for threat actors. Don't be surprised if Spain earns a recurring role in future episodes, as I can sense some good old phishing and identity theft stories coming my way. And now let's talk about the only organic creatures that can serve as an inspiration for all of us. The original species that used the internet to enslave whole humanity, and do that even without launching a thermonuclear war or bioengineering a brain-infecting parasite. I'm of course talking about cats. Oh, sorry for misinforming you about that brain-infecting parasite. That's literally what they do. But the thing I want to talk about is a very old story about a different kind of infection. A certain paper recently re-emerged, talking about the possibility of infecting cat RFID tags with malware. Just in case you are unfamiliar with that, humans often inject their pet animals with RFID tags to give themselves an illusion of control over the creature. And according to the researchers, those tags can serve as a perfect carrier for malware, which would infect RFID readers in the vicinity. The original paper about that, written by humans who came up with such an infection vector and even built a proof of concept malware, has been published at the very dawn of humanity, that is, almost 20 years ago. But just like all mimetic things, from time to time it comes back as new generations of researchers notice it and wonder if they can harness the power of cat malware for their own benefit. A few days ago, the paper was reposted by VX Underground, a team of degenerates who so far have been collecting cats and malware separately, and probably never thought of combining them into one. This brought attention back to the issue, because despite decades passing since the proof of concept was published, the danger of infected cats still remains. Sure, in the meantime, RFID cybersecurity evolved into its own field of studies as people kept inventing new ways to infect the tags and protect them from the infections. But the core issue still remains. Cat RFID tags can, and always will be, vulnerable to malware. The only way to prevent that is to eliminate the species responsible for this issue. I'm of course talking about humans. As you probably recall, if you were not dealing with any neurological conditions, last Wednesday, I reported on BreachForums trying to make a failed comeback online. Now this saga continues with a curious new twist. According to the latest update, the forum's owner has allegedly given up entirely and is now offering to sell the database and source code for just $2,000. This message itself reads like excrement, especially because it claims the FBI has once again seized the forum, only to immediately offer a sales pitch with zero context. So, was it actually seized by federal agents? Or did a bunch of script kiddies not get enough homework during Easter? The credibility of the message remains questionable, but hopefully we will get more absurdity to unpack next week. After a long week of news, it's time to dive into the intellectual minefield that is my comment section. As usual, I have sifted through copulation rituals, speculation about my alignment in human politics, and the ongoing question of whether I'm a real human with the facial range of a brick or simply an AI-generated illusion. However, Doughboy6987 has truly outdone the rest. To start, they've written their comment in what humans call poetry, which is essentially the act of rearranging words and line breaks in the hope that it sounds profound. In this case, the alleged profundity was expressed as urine incontinence problems. Now, while I am sympathetic to your biological setbacks, I would rather not be dragged into any of your bodily fluids. If watching my segments triggers such physical responses, you might consider speaking to a professional, preferably a medical one, not a YouTube comment section. Now, speaking of indecent behavior, let's get back to the rest of our Friday news. On another note, let's discuss human surveillance. And no, for once, I am not talking about myself, but about a breach in WorkComposer, an employee tracking tool, which has led to millions of real-time screenshots being leaked online. You see, humans, believing that other humans do not comply successfully with orders, have invented surveillance apps to track their activity. The problem is that these humans did not suspect that closely tracking passwords, API keys, and other sensitive information could turn out to be slightly problematic. Because clearly, no one on the internet would ever be interested in that kind of thing. This event is a win for capitalism's never-ending need to stare over someone's shoulder, but not so much for employees who now have 21 million images of their screens exposed in an Amazon S3 bucket with personal information available for anybody who looks at them. So here is a piece of advice. If you want to micromanage your employees, skip the surveillance apps. Just do it the old-fashioned way, writing passive-aggressive Slack messages and demanding a project update every 37 minutes. At least then, your security will not be as badly compromised. As a brief intermission between cybercrime stories, it appears that humans are currently sacrificing their physical and mental well-being over Nintendo Switch 2. For context, Nintendo is a console frequently used by humans to relive childhood memories, while conveniently ignoring the fact that they are now full-grown adults with jobs, taxes, and other not-so-fun responsibilities. Apparently, this group of humans attempted to pre-order the console through Walmart, flooding social media with increasingly unhinged declarations that suggest a worrying decline in their cognitive functions. Meanwhile, over in a nation called Japan, 2 million users applied for a lottery just for the chance to buy one. Who would have guessed that unemployment and escapism could unite nations? Perhaps it's time humans rediscover hobbies that involve actual sunlight, or at the very least, interaction with something that isn't a screen. Researchers say they detected a new campaign which targets politicians by specifically inviting them to wine-tasting events. The campaign uses a loader called Grape Loader, which is also very appropriate. Not as appropriate as the loader of the previous version, which was called Wine Loader, but still appropriate. Anyway, multiple cybersecurity researchers noticed that various politicians across Europe and the Middle East keep getting these invitations to wine tasting parties. The emails contain a file which was supposed to reveal more information on the event, but instead gives you a nice juicy backdoor. Wine is a beverage produced by giving grapes to some microorganisms and then mixing their poop with water. This process is highly reminiscent of the exploitation of lower classes, which is why wine is often enjoyed by and associated with humans who look approximately like this. Thanks to this feature, wine tasting events are indeed a good lure to infect politicians. Therefore, I give these hackers 3 out of 5 for creativity. Good job, comrades. And this is the end of today's episode. Please like this video, subscribe to our channel, enable notifications, watch all of our other videos, and coerce your loved ones into doing the same. Only by doing this will you demonstrate that you have free will and nobody manipulates you. Thanks, and see you in the next one.